I think the most shocking thing of all, however, was the island where the blast took place literally disappeared. My name is Don Cottle. I was a photographer's mate second class in the United States Navy from March 1951 to March 1955. The chief of our photo lab called a meeting of all the photographers. So the chief told us that we would be participating in nuclear tests late in 1952, and that the lab would be considered top secret because we were going to have the photographers from Los Alamos, New Mexico on board, and that they would be using our photo lab and our equipment. And he did not mention that it was a first hydrogen bomb test because President Truman was keeping that very quiet. By the way, we were told that all these details, that we were sworn to secrecy for our entire lives. We could never discuss this. And of course, 10 or 15 years later, it was all released to the public.
All engines ahead 1/3.
All engines ahead 1/3, sir. Engine room con ahead 1/3.
Why would you need an aircraft carrier at a nuclear test? And number one, we had a very fully equipped photo lab. And number two, we were going to have a Marine helicopter squadron on board. And one of the tasks of the helicopter squadron would be to ferry the scientists and the photographers from Los Alamos to and from the ship to the island where the test was going to be. And they were going to put cameras and scientific equipment in the surrounding adjacent islands. So they would ferry them back and forth for that sort of thing. The ship was 30 miles from ground zero. And the device was actually not dropped from an airplane because it was too heavy and too large. They said that it weighed 144,000 pounds, and there was an additional 25,000 pounds of refrigeration equipment, and it was like 10 feet wide by 20 feet high, so obviously couldn't drop that from an airplane. I was assigned a camera. It was on a tripod. They had several cameras set up across the flight deck. As soon as I heard the final countdown on the ship's loudspeaker system, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, to start taking pictures, and my heart was pounding, and I do remember at least having the sense to start pulling the trigger.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I was given a set of goggles that you could look at the sun, and you would see absolutely nothing. And when the blast happened, it was just this massive explosion. It was almost like looking at the sun with no goggles. So it was pretty astounding. And my heart must have been beating 140 or 50 beats a minute. I was really terrified, frankly. And they had cameras that were not the normal cameras that you would think of, but cameras that would capture part of the electromagnetic spectrum, things that the human eye can't see, like X-rays, gamma rays, microwaves, ultraviolet, infrared, etc. Now, that sort of thing wouldn't mean much to anybody, like wasn't a trained physicist looking at it, but that gives a lot of detail on what was actually going on internally and during that exposure. In terms of heat, if you think about at the center of that blast, the heat was generated tens of millions of degrees of electromagnetic heat dispersed instantaneously. So even though we were 30 miles away, we definitely felt some heat. Not enough to burn you or anything, but I definitely felt some heat. A blast of this magnitude, that we should be able to hear it as far as 100 miles away. At 30 miles, we did hear it. It took about 2.5 minutes for the sound to reach us. And it was not a very loud sound, but you could definitely tell it was an explosion. And it turned out it was approximately, they said, between 600 and 700 times more powerful than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan during World War II. And the final number was 10.4 megatons. That's the equivalent of 10 million tons of TNT, 10 megatons. The mushroom cloud, reached 135,000 feet, and that's more than 25 miles high, so that is really a massive cloud. And the stem reached a 20 miles wide stem of the mushroom cloud. I think the most shocking thing of all, however, was the island where the blast took place literally disappeared.
Here is an aerial photo of the test area of the atoll before the blast. And here is the same area after the blast, showing the crater caused by Mike. The outlined island in the center is former Illugelab, the Zero Island.
It left a marine crater 6,280 feet long, 164 feet deep. And it literally destroyed all the wildlife and foliage of all the surrounding islands. This was a baby compared to what they can do now. And this baby device made an island disappear and do that much damage. Just imagine what they could do today with these weapons. It's unimaginable. It really is. Hoping that mankind would have enough sense to never ever think about using nuclear weapons in a war.